If we want to get a 99 parse on Razorscale, we need to know the parsing rules. The whole phase 1 is counted as downtime, meaning none of the damage done to the adds here is counted, only damage done to Razorscale counts for parses. This is very important because you actually want to pop everything for Razorscale when it lands. So I encourage you not to be selfish and help your guild clearing the adds in phase 1, don't just AFK and wait for the boss to land, but at the same time it's a good idea to save major cooldowns for Razorscale when it lands, where it's usually coupled with heroism. So the pool of this boss is different compared to majority of Ulduar bosses. There is no need to pre-pot as not only the 15-second duration will wear off with the appearance of the first adds, but also there's no point for it as any damage here is not counted. So what I'm doing in phase 1 or the adds phase, I usually pop Starfall right on the first pack of adds to make sure it's back up on the boss when it lands. I'm saving the potion of speed and any other cooldowns like trends or trinkets for the boss. Make sure you are tracking and paying attention to the timers of harpoons with either Big Wigs, Deadly Moths or any other add-on. Make sure you are also tracking the timers of your cooldowns and internal cooldowns of your trinkets or cloak enchant if you are a tailor. You want to have everything ready when Razorscale is gonna be chained, meaning depending on the timers, somewhere around 3rd or 4th harpoon you might want to slow down and perhaps even semi-AFK and stop casting for last couple of seconds, not to waste any important procs that might be missing for a single target boss nuke on the ground. This means ensure to have your Lunar Eclipse ready for the ground phase. Stop casting Wrath at the end of phase 1 not to accidentally proc Lunar Eclipse, else you might find yourself in Solar Eclipse with heroism for the nuke phase. The stop casting is not only for your Lunar Eclipse, but you also want to achieve to have all your unused trinkets and especially internal cooldowns of your trinkets or tailoring cloak not to be accidentally procced on the last pack of adds. Make sure you have your trends, Starfall, hyperspeed accelerators and your potion ready as well. Don't pop trends at all in phase 1 and if you want to pop Starfall, do it on the first pack so it's ready again. So the phase 2 starts with harpoon number 4 being fired and the boss is being chained and dragged towards the ground. This is actually where the parse encounter starts. It's also kind of a DPS check if you want to parse 99, because if you won't manage to nuke it to 50% and let it fly back up, it's most likely a goodbye to parse and good luck next reset. So with all the cooldowns mentioned previously ready, I'm usually starting with trends just to make sure they will get the heroism, especially if you have some impatient shamans in raid popping heroism early. If you are assigned to Fairy Fire, cast it. If someone else is doing it, great, global cooldown saved. Just make sure it is up by someone, as we are losing our own personal DPS due to improved Fairy Fire talent. Then I'm usually continuing with Starfall as third global cooldown. However, with Starfall you actually have two options. First one, pop it right away, and while you are casting your dots, Starfall should already proc Nature's Grace by the time you start Wrath casting to get quicker to Lunar Eclipse. Or second option, if you have high amount of haste rating or you want to rely on some RNG, where first Wrath popping not only your Nature's Grace, but also first few casts proccing internal cooldowns, it's not a bad time to cast Starfall at this time to benefit from the extra spell power. I'm usually going for the option number 1 though, for multiple reasons. First, when you have the internal cooldowns of the trinkets ready, chances are high they will proc fairly soon anyway, so Starfall can still benefit from this spell power boost because you can't snapshot Starfall. Second, you don't want to sacrifice global cooldowns from your first juicy Lunar Eclipse coupled with heroism, unused trinkets, hyperspeed accelerators and potion of speed other than Starfire nuke, and you can find yourself in this situation when you decide to delay Starfall. Third, not to mention, it's way easier for managing the fight as you are just focusing on your rotation and don't have to pay attention to internal cooldowns and trying to figure out when to pop Starfall. And last but not least, fourth, depending on your raid DPS, you might be able to squeeze in a second Starfall before the boss is killed. This might not be true when delaying the Starfall because of the internal procs. So I'm doing trends, Fairy Fire, Starfall, Insect Swarm, Moonfire, and proceeding with Eclipse Rotation, fishing for Lunar Eclipse with first few rats. Hopefully, I also have Heroism by the time I reach Lunar Eclipse. So under the effect of Heroism and reaching the first Lunar Eclipse, this is where I want to pop everything at the same time, meaning Potion of Speed, Hyperspeed Accelerators, and unused trinkets for some juicy Starfire nuke. I'm using simple macro for this that I just pop and start casting Starfire immediately. Pay attention to the thread at this point, as it isn't very difficult to over-aggro. And yes, unfortunately, since I'm deciding to stop casting for the last few seconds of the phase 1, and do no DPS to save my internal cooldowns, your damage meter during the fight might look bad, however, since only the boss damage is counted, the log will show a different story. The last phase starts when you reach 50% of the HP and you are thrown in the air. This is a good time to use 2 global cooldowns as instant casts while in the air. I'm usually refreshing both of my dots, but when you have a high uptime on them already and have the 4-piece tier 8 proc ready, that's a good option as well. When you land, just rocket boots back to your position, ideally in the middle where you can maintain that position for the rest of the fight without having to move ever again while the boss is kited around you. From here, it's just simple tank and spank, standing in one place, proceeding with the Eclipse rotation, and casting a second Starfall if it's back up, and the boss still have a few percent of HP, so the majority of the Starfall duration will still hit the target. Just make sure you are in range for it, and mouse over the boss if you are using Serenite Bomb macro together with Starfall. Also, do not refresh the last set of dots when the boss is low on HP, if they won't be up for the majority of their duration. It's better to squeeze in few extra casts of either Red or Starfire, rather than redot and get just few ticks of the dots before the boss is killed. Regarding talents and glyphs, for all of my Razorscale kills, I was using my default single target spec that is the same as I showcase in the Ignis or XT Deconstructor How to Parse 99 guide. So, no point picking Gale Winds or Typhoon as it's pretty much a single target boss nuke. Therefore, I chose 3 points in Brambles for 15% extra trend damage over more points in Genesis, that just seems way worse. Since the fight is very short, no point in picking any mana talents, you shouldn't have any mana issues unless you decided to Hurricane us in phase 1. Regarding the Ulkin Frenzy, it didn't proc on this particular 99 parse fight, but I've seen it proc in the last phase and verified it on the log as well. Not really sure what is causing the proc, might be the knockback in the air, maybe something else, but you can definitely have some RNG Ulkin Frenzy on Razorscale to help your parses. Although it's not a consistent at all, so feel free to shift few talents around. In terms of glyphs, it's the usual suspects trio of Insect Swarm, Starfall, and Starfire that can dish out the most DPS here. I just don't see any better alternative glyph with parsing in mind on this boss. So, that's pretty much it, and good luck!